There are at least 3 videos from very popular YouTube channels which have almost verbatim the same title: Why Self-Improvement is Ruining Your Life.
And what's kind of funny is that all 3 of these channels make a large amount of content that broadly falls under the label of self-help, self-improvement, motivation, personal development, really whatever you want to call it. Essentially, these videos are telling you not to consume the content that these channels create. So what's going on? I'm not going to belabor this point too much. At one level, these are just sort of clickbaity titles that are intentionally provocative to get you interested. At another level, I think they all share a fairly simple message. Everything is good in moderation. Of course, self-improvement isn't going to literally ruin your life, and of course you can get big benefits from consuming self-help style content. If that wasn't the case, there wouldn't be all these best-selling books, and these channels wouldn't have over 1 million subscribers each. Of course, over the years, the self-help industry certainly has attracted its share of grifters, people who maybe aren't so interested in helping you help yourself, but rather convincing you that if you just keep giving them money, you will eventually find the key to happiness. Now, I think I've always had sort of an inherent skepticism, not to the idea of self-improvement per se, but more about the effectiveness of prepackaged solutions to meaningfully affect your life. I tend to roll my eyes when I hear about people taking cold showers every day for a month, or meticulously journaling, or planning out their day into these little boxes so they make sure to absolutely maximize their productivity. It's not that I don't see the potential value of these habits, it's just that sometimes they feel a little bit overly prescriptive and rigid. I guess you could say I'm a bit of a free spirit. I prefer to flow and glide through my day, letting the winds of fate carry me where they will. I like to groove along to my own ever-changing rhythm, unconstrained by things like schedules or rules. But there does come a time where introducing just a teeny bit of structure into one's life doesn't seem like the worst idea in the world. So if you skipped ahead in order to find out what this first mysterious, potentially life-changing habit is, you'll be excited to find out that it is really one of the most ubiquitous and common pieces of advice in all of self-improvement. Go outside first thing in the morning. I'll say it again with type on the screen for more emphasis. Go outside first thing in the morning. According to the massively popular neuroscientist and podcaster Andrew Huberman, why is this guy everywhere all of a sudden? Stepping outside and viewing sunlight first thing in the morning is one of the most important things you can do each day to improve not only your energy throughout the day, but also your sleep at night. And even if you have some inherent skepticism about Andrew Huberman's brand of science-based self-help content, this is really just something that seems like an intuitively good idea. Just for the record, I don't come out to this beautiful forest every morning. This isn't right outside my front door. I live in a pretty standard suburban setting, which is fine. I came here to film the video. I could technically drive 15 minutes every morning and come here if I wanted to, but I don't really have time to do that. It doesn't seem practical. The important thing is just go outside wherever you are, even if it's kind of shitty.
Consider an alternative to this glistening scene. You wake up maybe a little late and drag yourself out of bed to get on your computer and start your work from home job. You feel tired and groggy as you begin to sift through emails and you ignore or block out the bright light shining through your window because clearly you have more important things to worry about. Maybe you do make your way outside eventually at some point, or maybe you simply stay inside all day. So which sounds like the better path to feeling awake and energized throughout your day? If this rhetorical question sounds annoyingly pretentious, yeah, it kinda is. As much as I stand by this advice and have gotten a lot of personal benefit out of this habit, I think there are a lot of somewhat valid reasons why you might not want to do it. So instead of going on and on about the potential benefits, let's talk about those reasons why you might not want to do it. For some people, going outside in the morning may already be built into your routine. Maybe you have a dog that needs to be walked first thing, or you like getting out for an early run. I personally love running, but I can't stand the thought of doing it first thing in the morning. Maybe you like stepping out to start your day with a cigarette. Although this last one might cancel out some of the potential upsides of the habit, I'm not here to judge. The point is, if you don't have a secondary reason for going outside, just getting up and stepping outside for a quick walk by yourself can feel a little odd. I'm not sure why it feels odd, but for some reason it does. Luckily, I've gotten past this. The second reason you might not want to do this is a fairly obvious one. Maybe the weather is just really, really bad. Now, I live in the Pacific Northwest, where the weather is rarely so bad that you can't go outside, and because I am a weird Pacific Northwesterner, I kind of like going for a walk in the rain for some reason. But needless to say, if it's blizzarding or there's a hurricane outside, you can probably just cancel the habit for that day.
I think in the fully optimized, maximum Andrew Huberman version of this, you literally wake up, don't even glance at your phone, and make a beeline for the outdoors, which sounds a little crazy. Personally, I almost never do it this way. I think a good rule of thumb is just to try and get outside within the first hour that you're awake. But even if it takes longer than that, it's definitely still a good idea. And if the weather is especially bad, or you just don't feel like going for a walk for whatever reason, just step out onto your porch or balcony or whatever and bask in the natural light for a little while. It's chill. The weird thing about making a self-improvement video framed around the fact that I have issues with certain self-improvement content is that no matter how I present this, I'm still essentially making self-improvement content. It still feels like I'm trying to convince you to do something for your benefit. And I could say that this isn't intended to convince you to do anything, it's just me sharing something that's worked for me, but that still sounds like a backhanded way of trying to convince you to do something. At any rate, you must have clicked on this video for some reason, so if you skipped ahead to find out what the second of these two mysterious, potentially life-changing habits is, you'll be excited to find out it's also a pretty common one, but in a slightly different subgenre of self-improvement. That's right, this is a productivity hack. As you may have guessed, I do not like the term productivity hacking. As you may have gathered, I prefer to chill. As it turns out, I also struggle with procrastination and getting extremely distracted while I'm supposed to be working. Enter the Pomodoro technique. Let's see that again with type on the screen. This productivity technique is extremely simple. Set a 25-minute timer and work solidly with no distractions. Then take a 5-minute break and do it again. After 4 of these blocks, you can take a longer 15 to 30-minute break. Right off the bat, I'm sure you can see why I was hesitant to try this at first. Even this teeny tiny amount of structure felt extremely threatening to me. Now, if you dig into the resources around this, a lot of people will point out that the specific time intervals involved aren't so important. What is important is simply committing to work with full focus and no distractions for some interval of time, and then giving yourself a break to reset. That said, I've actually found that for me personally, 25 minutes is a really nice interval to work for. It's not quite half an hour, and if you're fully focused, you can get a surprising amount done in just 25 minutes. And if I get to the end of the 25 minutes and still need a little bit more time to reach a good stopping point, I'll keep pushing forward for another 5-10 minutes. And likewise, if I reach a good stopping point just a little bit before the 25-minute mark, I'll go ahead and start my break a little bit early. And I don't really worry so much about precisely timing the little 5-minute breaks. Usually I just get up from my desk, maybe get some water, poke my head outside, check shit on my phone, and then jump into another 25-minute session. And to be honest, I kind of just ignore the whole do 4 and then take a 15 to 30-minute break. I just take a longer break when I want to eat lunch or go run an errand or just get bored of working for the day. I also find that if I'm working on projects that I'm especially passionate about, for example, making YouTube videos, yes, I'm passionate about making YouTube videos, then I don't really need the Pomodoro technique because I'm just naturally more focused for longer periods of time. But when it comes to grinding through work that I just really don't want to do or keep putting off, the Pomodoro technique is very helpful in getting it done. I think the biggest barrier to using this technique is simply procrastinating starting that first Pomodoro timer. Once I've done one, I get a little boost of motivation, seeing how much I accomplished, and it inspires me to keep going. But when it's like the morning and you just don't have any motivation to start your workday, even despite the great walk you just went on, it can be really hard to get yourself to sit down and commit to that first 25-minute session. I saw one guy suggest you can combat this procrastination by simply making your first interval shorter and then progressively working your way up to longer and longer timers. And needless to say, there are tons of variations and resources for this online if you're interested in it. For me, the biggest takeaway has just been that I know that I am always going to eventually get distracted and procrastinate, especially when it comes to work that I don't really want to do. But knowing that I just have to make it through 25 minutes with no distractions is a very powerful motivator because once you get that 5-minute break, you're free to go on your phone and do whatever you want before you jump back into work. Lastly, I'll just say that I'm far from perfect at this. I will often catch myself going on my phone in the middle of a session or literally pausing the timer to go follow some internet rabbit hole. But at least I'm conscious of the fact that I'm breaking my focus, and overall, incorporating this technique into my workflow has made me a lot more accountable to myself. And that's nice. If you're obsessed with self-improvement, not saying you are, just hypothetically if you were, well, for one thing, you probably already know about the 2 habits in this video, but for another, I would just say that at some point, you do have to realize that it is important to just be okay with your life. There's nothing wrong with the grind is fine, but chilling is important too. You have to learn how to chill. If you're like me and are generally pretty happy with your life, well, that's great. But it is easy to sometimes get a little complacent. And a little self-improvement can be a great remedy to that complacency. Okay, this video just needs to be over. I'm not even gonna do the whole like and subscribe thing. Goodbye.